to the Girly Girl Bookworm. So I'm probably going to regret that I'm not holding up any books in this video. But I have so many books out right now, and I don't know where I'm going to put half of them, so I don't feel like pulling up more books. So I'm just going to insert photos for all of these books that I'm about to talk about. Hopefully I don't regret it too much. So these are the best books that I've read according to Goodreads. So I watched this video on Riley's channel from Riley Marie. She did it for best and worst. So I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to tell you the best books according to Goodreads and the worst books according to Goodreads. And we're just going to see my reactions. So best books according to Goodreads. I'm going to do, for both of them, I'm going to do the 15, like the top 15 and the worst 15. So according to Goodreads, these are the best books that I have read. We're going to start with 15 and we're going to work to the best. So 15, I love. And I also left off He Who Shall Not Be Named because I'm not including her on my list because she would probably make up the entire list and she does not deserve to be on there right now. So I am not going to even talk about her. So 15 was The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. And I'm not surprised to see this ranked so high on my list because I know that it's gotten so much love, but I hated it. I did not like that book at all. And I know he's getting a lot of garbage too right now for Boy in the Striped Pajamas and the fact that he's trying to write a sequel for it. So, but that aside, I didn't like this book. I don't know what I thought I was going into, but people were like, it's heartbreaking and they bawled their eyes out. And I just I didn't like it at all. So I couldn't even tell you a synopsis besides I remember everybody was getting AIDS and everybody was having sex with each other. And I was just what is happening? That was not the book I thought I was going into, which I think was hard. I remember liking the first 50 pages and I was really sold into the story, and then it completely changed paths on me and I was I don't know what's happening. And it was a chunky book. I remember I vlogged, I think, when I was reading that because I think I was doing I was doing a thing where I was reading the top rated books on my TBR or something like that. And that was on it. And I'm pretty sure I vlogged it. I'm almost positive I did. And I remember it was so chunky. Ugh, not good memories. So I don't even own it. So this would be a picture even if I wasn't doing that for all of them. 14, which I was surprised that this was ranked so low on my list. Not low, but the fact that it was out of the 15, I expected to see it as a 2 or 3 seed. But that's The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. And I loved this book. This was a book that, I read too late, and not too late in life. You could never read it too late. But, I remember when it first came out, and I was kind of I don't really, it's not really, I don't know. And then I finally was you know what? There's so much buzz about it. I just need to find out what it's about. And I finally read it, and I loved it. I enjoyed the movie. I think that this should be ranked higher than 14, to be honest. But that's 14 on the list. Number 13 is We Are Not From Here. And I borrowed this one from the library because Ashley from the Bookish Realm read it and really enjoyed it. And I really liked this one as well. I think it's a very different YA novel. I will say again, I'm surprised that this made the list. I didn't think enough people have read this one because I think that they take that into account when they put in average ratings. It's how many people have read the book. And I didn't think that many people read this one, so I was surprised to see this one come up. This is about 3 teenagers who are trying to escape Mexico. No. I think so. No. It's been a while since I read it. Hold on. We are not from here. Clearly, I'm not from here either. Oh, no. Okay. They are trying to... Oh, they're fleeing Guatemala to make it to America. So they had to go through Mexico. That's where I got Mexico from. Because I was I remember they're trying to get into America, and I remember them going through the Mexican border. So that's where I had Mexico in my head. So they were trying to flee Guatemala, which means that they have to go through Mexico to get there. And this book was so heartbreaking. And just watching them struggle and try to get through it, and just, it was a wild experience, especially for a YA novel. Like, it keeps it real. It keeps it, like, it's dark. Obviously, it's not a, like, fun adventure story. Like, this, like, to think that this still happens when people are trying to flee, like, it was rough. It was gory. It was intense for a YA novel. Again, it was very good. I'm just surprised it made it this far up on the list, considering, like, other books that I read that I feel like I've seen be more popular and be rated higher. I was just surprised that this one made the list. Not that it was bad. Like, this is really good. I highly recommend it. It just, I wasn't expecting to see it so high. The Last Olympian, which is the 5th book in the Percy Jackson series. According to Goodreads, I gave that book 5 stars. But, like, remembering it, I don't know if it was 5 stars. Like, for a middle grade novel, sure. Like, obviously, like, I feel like I expected to see Rick Riordan on here, just because his books are so impactful on readers. I just didn't think I would see, like, the 5th book be higher than all the other books. And we'll come back to that in a second. Number 11 was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, which I loved and gave 5 stars to. So I agree with this being on this list. I'm just surprised because I felt like with it being a newer release, I would expect to see, like, the one that's really popular right now. Did I get rid of it? I don't think I got rid of it. Oh my gosh, why can't I say anything today? The one about domestic violence. I am blanking on it right now, but it's been one that's been, it ends with us. Now I just expected to see, like, maybe that one up here instead of that one. So I was surprised to see Reminders of Him up here. I know that it's very well loved, but I also know that there's a lot of people who didn't like it as well. So I think it possibly made it up here just because of the pure numbers that probably have read it, just because Colleen Hoover, like, everybody reads her. So I don't know if that's why it's up here, but I don't hate it because I loved that book. That book is one of my favorite books of the year. I bawled my eyes out reading that book. Going back to Rick Riordan, number 10 was The House of Hades, which I believe is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series. These books are so forgettable to me. Like, I remember enjoying the Percy Jackson series, but the Heroes of Olympus series really started to lose me, and I think it's because those books were so chunky, and I just, like, didn't care about, like, I loved the initial Percy gang, and then once it kind of, like, changed, it just, I've since stopped reading Rick Riordan books. Like, I still have, like, all of the trials of Apollo. Is that what it is? The Trials of Apollo. I have, like, the first 3 books in that. I still haven't read the last 2 books in the Norse mythology one. Like, and I own that. Like, I've stopped reading Rick Riordan books. And I think it's because this series kind of, like, did it to me. Like, and again, I'm surprised that it's the 4th book. Like, a random book to make it to the top 10. Number 9 is The Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I don't agree with this one. I think a lot of people loved this one. I remember it being really big on BookTube. I was more of a fan of the Mortal Instruments than the Infernal Devices series. I think I just kind of, like, got through the Infernal Devices series because I felt like I had to read them. There are books that I, like, kind of regret that I wasted time on. Like, there's a lot of books, like, I've been on BookTube forever. I've been on BookTube since 2012. So I've read a lot of books that just, like, I shouldn't have read. I think it was a lot of me reading what was popular and things that I thought should be my taste, but, like, really weren't my taste. And that series was one of them. Like, I should not have read that one. And I remember, like, it being such a big deal of, like, who's she gonna pick? What's gonna happen? Like, who's Tessa gonna pick? What's gonna happen? Is it gonna be Will? Is it gonna be Jeb? And I don't agree with it being up here. I think there's better books out there that I've read than that one. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I don't disagree with it being up here because I know a lot of people love it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I had a lot of bias against it in the beginning because it was so hyped that I avoided it. And then I read it and I was like, oh, this is actually, like, quite good. And I think I gave it 4 stars. And I understand why it's on this list. I just don't see it as a personal favorite to me, so I wouldn't have put it on the top 15, but I understand why it's there. Number 7 shocked me. And it's like I love this book. This is In the Heart of Paradise, which is the 3rd book in the Inside of the Mountain series. And I love this series, but it's a self-published, like, nobody really knows it exists series. So, like, I don't know how it made this list. I personally love it, but I know, like, no one who's read it. Like, I know, like, the people who I read in book club, like, read it, and obviously, like, I love the author. Like, I chat with her often, like, on Instagram, and, like, she likes my posts, I like her posts, you know, like, I interact with her. Like, I love this series. I just know that it doesn't have the audience that it should have. So I'm surprised that it's on this list, to be honest. But I love it. So another way for me to plug that you should read this series, historical fiction, go read it. This one was shocking to me. Number 6, To Selena with Love, which is a story. Well, it's not a story. It's nonfiction about Selena by her husband. Well, like, the one that she widowed. And it's, like, his love story about her. Like, I think he's gotten, like, married again. He's got kids. But this was, like, him telling her story. And I remember being, like, so excited for it because I love her music. And I love the movie adaptation of her. And, like, not that I love her story because I hate that she was tragically murdered. But, like, I was really interested to see the story of their love and stuff. And I remember just being like, it was okay. I think I gave it, like, 3 stars. Like, it was just subpar. Like, I found it to be really subpar. So I'm surprised it's on here. My only other thought would be, again, the mass amount of people that have potentially read it. If that skewed the numbers, I don't know. But I was surprised to see this make this list. I will say, guys, my top 5 books, according to Goodreads, well, including this one, so 6, were all nonfiction. I don't really read nonfiction to begin with, so the fact that, like, the top 6 books according to Goodreads are all nonfiction to me are very interesting. Again, I don't know if it's because it's got such a wider audience that, like, that's what makes the list. Some of them definitely deserve to be on this list. I'm really excited that they're on here, but some of them I'm just like, okay, like, that's surprising. Number 5 is Just Mercy, which makes sense. A movie was made out of it. I thought it was a really good book as well. And it's basically, his name is not Steve Stevenson. I'm not saying his name right. But he's a lawyer, and he basically worked to get a lot of people who were on death row off of death row. And it's basically his story about how he got into what he was doing and a bunch of his cases that he was working on. One trial primarily, which is what the movie is based on. Again, it's a very good book. I understand why it's on here. I remember some of the cases that he talked about, I felt like took away from the main story, because it was primarily supposed to be the one that, like, the movie was based on. So I remember it kind of getting a little jumbled, but definitely a phenomenal read, and I think it makes sense for being on this list. Number 4 surprised me just because it feels still so new, and that's the 1619 Project, which I've read this year, actually. And this is a nonfiction. It's about basically how slavery has impacted so many areas of our life, too, and the biases that kind of have come with it and how it's sparked other things in the world. And it's broken into sections, so multiple authors have taken various chapters of it. It was very interesting. I'm glad that I read it. I'm just surprised, again, that it's made this list just in terms of how long it's been out for. And again, it's one of those books that I feel like how many people have actually read it, I'm not positive. So I'm just surprised that it's so high up on the list. I could see it being on this list like a 12 or 13, but I wasn't expecting to see it be a 4 already. We've got The Sun Does Shine as number 3, which is interesting because this is actually written by one of the inmates that got off of death row from Just Mercy, which I thought was really interesting, that his book, his memoir about his life, ranked higher than the lawyer who got him off, which I thought was really interesting. I read this one through the library. Again, it makes sense that it's high, but I also think, again, maybe the wide variety of readers that can read it, or people who have read Just Mercy and then really enjoyed this one as well. I believe I listened to this one on audio, and I think he reads it himself, if I recall. I read this last year, so I'm trying to do my memory, which clearly does not want to work today. And I think that also makes it a little bit more impactful when the actual narrator, the actual writer, is also the narrator, especially for memoirs. I feel like that just makes it more, you're more able to attach yourself to the story. Number 2, which I heard is a fantastic audiobook, and I am not surprised to see this one on this list. I did not read it as an audiobook, though, was Know My Name by Chanel Miller. And this is the story of the Stanford rapist, where he was a swimmer and he raped her and basically got 3 months in jail. Are we surprised? No. But reading her story was so gripping and interesting, and watching the effects of that, how this one night had on her, and to see that I'm so mad, the fact that he only got 3 months, and watching how it really tore her life apart. But at the same time, it's so inspirational for women to read this book. Highly recommend this one. I was not surprised to see this one so high on my list. And number 1, which was one that I was definitely, again, not surprised to see on this list, because it's fantastic and will make you bawl your eyes out, which is why I didn't listen to this one on audio, even though I heard audio was the way to go with it. I knew I wasn't going to be able to handle it on audio. And that is The Only Plane in the Sky, which is a oral story of 9/11. And you are just getting snippets from different people, people that were either in the airport that day, or a reporter, or just various people, a firefighter, Selena Gomez, as a student in Texas. So it was just the oral recall of everything that happened that day, from that very beginning in the morning all the way till when the day ended. It's heartbreaking, but well worth the read. So I'm not surprised to see this one on this list. So those are the 15 books that apparently are the best books I've read according to Goodreads. Very interesting list, especially considering, I'm just going to look really quick. According to Goodreads, I have read 1,775 books. So these are the top 15 out of almost 2,000 books. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let me know your thoughts about any of these down below, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.